Hey guys, welcome to the Swamp Fox Wargaming channel. Today I'm going to go over the June 2025 Balance Dataslate changes for the Tyranids. I am Ruben Garrity and I am the resident Tyranid player on the Swamp Fox team, and I am so excited about these updates. It looks so good to me, even our 1 points increase. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go ahead and start with those points. And we'd like to look at the points changes, starting with the points that went down, which is most of the point changes. Hive Guard went down 10 points for 3 models, or 20 points for a full unit of 6. Hive Guard still struggle. The AP is really their biggest issue, honestly. That needs some kind of change. If we could get some AP changes there, that would be fantastic, and I'm hopeful that that'll happen someday. I don't think points changes are enough, but hey, I could be wrong, and I'll probably still try them out. The Hive Tyrant went down a whopping 30 points. Now, this guy was heavily overcosted, in my opinion, before, but you still kind of needed him just for the Will of the Hive Mind ability. We will talk about how that ability changed, but the 30-point drop, I think, still makes this guy worth it. You still kind of need a Hive Tyrant, and dropping points on it is always good. The Screamer Killer went down again, down by another 10 points to 135. I don't use these personally, but if you do, then points drop is always welcome. The Swarm Lord is a staple in all of my lists, and for him to drop 20 points down to 220, I think is absolutely fantastic. And the Winged Hive Tyrant, I don't see a lot of those played outside of Vanguard detachment, but a 30-point drop to 170 is pretty good. That thing is still relatively durable. The 4-up invul and the fact that it's just a monster are really nice. So hopefully it'll see a little bit more play now, because 30 points is a pretty hefty points drop. And the only thing that went up in points is the Psychophage. It went up 15 points to 110 points, and I am actually happy about this. So no complaints here, and we'll go ahead and get into that as well pretty soon. But first, let's talk about the Hive Tyrant change, Will of the Hive Mind. So this ability was changed to basically once per game round instead of once per turn. This was very useful as a once per turn ability, and I use this every time. But once per game round, I think, is still doable. There were some turns where I found myself not taking advantage of this ability in some of my games, so I don't think it'll hurt all that bad. And when it comes with a points drop as big as 30 points, I think that's still worth it. I think it's still a net positive. But the rule reads, once per battle round, one model from your army with this ability, so only one Tyrant, no matter how many you have on the field, can use it when a friendly Tyranids unit within 12 inches of that model is targeted with a stratagem. If it does, reduce the CP cost of that usage of that stratagem by 1 CP. So the only time that I tended to use this on my opponent's turn was with abilities like Reinforced Hive Node, or if I was trying to reroll an armor save or something like that. And it wasn't always within range to do that on a unit that I needed, and sometimes I just didn't need to use that strat in particular. So there are times where you won't miss it too much. It will hurt to lose that extra CP every turn, CP reduction every turn, but I don't think it'll really be a big struggle. I don't know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. But that's really all I have to say about this. I think it's worth it for the 30-point drop, and I'm not going to be mad about it. I might even find a way to add another Tyrant into my list now, just because they're so much cheaper. Let's see. New Psychophage. This one is a huge change, and I am very excited about this in particular. So, first of all, here are the main changes. It got harder, better, faster, stronger. Smoke keyword is really cool. I don't know that I've ever seen this on a monster before. The fact that it's on a Tyranid is very cool to me. I used to lament not having access to things like smoke and grenades and all of that, but here we go with smoke. That'll make it a little bit harder to kill. It still has its 5-up Feel No Pain, and I think it'll be a lot more durable than its points would suggest. So people will find this very difficult to get rid of unless they dedicate some real anti-tank firepower to it. And usually, in my experience, they have not tried to dedicate a whole ton of anti-tank to it. It's kind of the thing they try to pick off after other key targets are dead, if they're usually focusing on my Tyrannofexes or something else like that. So this guy's usually just sitting around waiting until the end of the game before it gets any real attention. But that may change with the buffs it got. We'll go into Biostimulus first. This change is the biggest change that this thing received. It is a completely different buff now. It works completely differently. Instead of the old ability that was more defensively focused with that aura of a 6-up Feel No Pain, which I did like very much and still brought this unit just because giving a 6-up Feel No Pain to things like Tyrant Guard, which I tend to spam a lot of, is really good. But I am not mad that we lost that, because instead it's going to improve the AP of my units. So the ability states, in your shooting phase, after this model has shot, select one enemy unit hit by one or more of those attacks. Until the end of the turn, each time a friendly Tyranids unit makes a melee attack that targets that enemy unit, improve the AP of that attack by 1. And it doesn't stack, so the same enemy unit can only be affected by this ability once per turn. And that's fine. What I've found is that things like my Tyrant Guard or my Hormagaunts or even my Tyrants, they just don't have the AP to really cut through heavy armor. And so the fact that I can just suddenly +1 AP on that, or improve the AP on that, is absolutely fantastic. And considering that this thing's got an auto-hitting torrent weapon, even better. I tend to make these things follow up behind my line of Tyrant Guard anyway, so I imagine I'll probably be doing the same thing. It'll probably just move up, and instead of buffing the Tyrant Guard in defensive ways, it's going to buff them offensively instead. And keeping it near that Hive Tyrant so it's still got Assault keyword when it's trying to advance and keep up with the line is great. And speaking of that, it's also got +4 inches to its movement, so it's even faster now and ought to be able to keep up and land its hits on whatever target it wants pretty effectively anyway. 12-inch move is really good. The other thing that I tend to use the Psychophage for is for scoring. I use it to get into position to score points in different places on the board or get to objectives and hold those. I think I'll probably run 2 to 3 Psychophages instead of just 1 now, and I can definitely see it getting where it needs to be very quickly and scoring the points it needs to score. And I really love the movement increase, because that big base makes it a little bit hard to maneuver sometimes, and the 8-inch movement before wasn't quite enough to get where I needed to go. I often relied on a good advance roll, and I noticed that it was really only a matter of a few inches, like 2 to 3 inches. So getting +4-inch move on this, I think, is going to solve a lot of my problems. I think that's a big, very positive change that'll make a big difference on the battlefield. And the last change to the Psychophage is that it's got a flat 6 attacks at AP2. AP was a real problem with this thing before, and the fact that its attacks were so unreliable really just made it hard to count on. And I always used it when there was an opportunity, especially if there was another Psyker. It was real good in the Tyranid matchup, the Tyranid mirror match, because Tyranids have a lot of Psykers, and getting it into a Hive Tyrant or a Norn was always really funny. I've had it hold down a Norn for a few turns and knock out a good 6 or 7 wounds just with its anti-Psyker and devastating wounds abilities. But like I said, it was real unreliable. The fact that it can bump up to 6 attacks flat and get an AP2 on its attacks is going to make this thing so much better. Is it going to wipe out a bunch of units? No, it's not. But it's still just a 110-point unit that will give you a lot of bang for your buck. It's going to do some damage. And don't forget that if it uses its Biostimulus ability when it shoots something, this is still a Tyranid unit that makes a melee attack. So if you shoot what you're charging into, your AP is getting even better. You're looking at AP3 on that. So that's going to be surprisingly effective of a change, I think. And I tend to run this guy in Synaptic Nexus. That's my favorite detachment. That's what I've been using lately. And getting the ability to reroll ones to hit and wound with that strat and getting +1 weapon skill will actually make those 6 attacks count a lot more and go a lot further. So I'm definitely excited for this guy. I love these changes to the Psychophage, and I think that it'll make a big difference. I don't know if a lot of other people were using Psychophages. I think I've seen one every now and again in an army list, but I imagine we'll see them quite a bit more often now. I'm excited for it. What do you think? Is it good? Is biostimulus change a good change or bad change? Or are you still not going to use Psychophages and you just don't care? Let me know. I'd love to hear about it. Hey guys, well, that pretty much wraps it up. I think that's everything I've got to say about this for now. I will possibly do another video on this later. But thank you so much for tuning in. Please let me know what you think about the new changes for the Tyranids. Are you excited? Are they a net positive, net negative? What are your feelings on that? Are you taking Psychophages? I'll dive into some of the other updates soon about the new Ravener data sheets, of course, and absolutely the new Subterranean Assault detachment, so check back for updates soon. I just want to give those things a little more thought before I actually start talking about them. I've only glanced them over. I am excited, but we'll get into that for sure. I'll be doing a lot more videos like this, so if this is something you'd like to see more of, please show it in the likes and comments. I would love to hear back from you. Also, browse through our other videos on this channel. We have more videos from other team members coming soon, and of course we have the Cadian Reporter, who creates some fantastic content here. So go show her videos some love as well. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back with more bug content for you soon.